It's not uncommon to have scenes in your game that are specifically just designed for development purposes. So for instance, I have this scene here, which is my props gallery, which I use to test my vehicle controller and how all of the props interact with it. It's kind of tedious to have to go into my scenes folder and then go and find the specific level that I want. So maybe I want to go into the test and load up the character showroom, or maybe I want to quickly get access to the downtown level that I'm working on at the moment. So one of the things specifically for this game that I've done is I've added a little button to the top of my editor here that just gives me access to all of the scenes in the game. Now, this project is pretty straightforward and I can often play the game from wherever I am and test that scene, but it's not uncommon in a larger project to have a multi-scene workflow, and you may need to load in some specific managers or behaviors from other scenes in order for the game to be tested in a specific state. In this instance, I don't have any of the UI with me, so I would need to load in my UI module. And now I see what the game can look like and make sure that things are working with the UI on screen. And so I've got two different scenes here that kind of need to be active at the same time. And so what we're going to do is build out a tool that not only lets you preview every scene in the game if you want, but also allows you to define groups of scenes that you may want to load at the same time. So let's take a look at how we might build something like that. Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Xsolla. As many of you know, the Game Developers Conference has just come to a close for the year. GDC is a frontier for learning about the cutting edge tech and creative ideas from our colleagues in the field, and Xsolla is no different as they're focused on delivering all the things that shape what comes next for game developers. Xsolla is a global video game commerce company that builds tools and services designed specifically for game developers from indie studios to AAA publishers across all platforms. Through their products like Webshop, global payments, and game publishing tools, they've helped over 1,500 game developers grow their businesses around the world and are redefining how developers reach players and grow revenue. I've spoken about Xsolla Webshop on the channel before, and it's a great way to grow your own revenue as you can sell directly to players, save on platform fees, and keep the player relationship in your own hands. Whatever your genre, audience, or live ops plan, Xsolla Webshop adapts, helping you launch quickly and scale into a complete web-based ecosystem while matching your in-game interface. You can launch fast and have a professional branded storefront in minutes with no code required and zero integration cost. And with over 700 shops launched globally and a track record of over 60% in repeat purchases from players, the results speak for themselves. So if you're looking to monetize something you're working on and you want better control over that experience, look no further than Xsolla. Xsolla's mission is simple: give developers all the things to launch, grow, and win so they can focus on making great games. If you're interested in learning more about Xsolla and their tools, follow the link in the description down below or scan the QR code on screen now. Thanks again to Xsolla for sponsoring this portion of the video. Let's get back into it. Now, previously, you would have to use an extension such as this one found on GitHub in order to extend the toolbar. But in 6.3, Unity actually added support for this class, which is main toolbar element, that allows you to customize it yourself within Unity. So we're going to do that today because we're using 6.3 for this demo. But if you are interested in more customization features, I'll leave a link to this extension down below. And you can check out the video that I wrote on this years ago when I was extending my toolbar in, I think, Unity 5 and onwards. So there's a robust extension that you can be using if you're more interested in specific levels of customization. But we're going to use the inbuilt version today because that's the most accessible version. So to start then, let's create a new folder in our assets called scripts. And we'll create a new folder in there called editor. And we'll create a new editor script. And we'll call this editor toolbar scene button. So this will work like pretty much any normal static editor method. So we'll make a public static main toolbar element, get scene button, and then we'll return a new main toolbar button, a new main toolbar content, which for now we'll just call scenes, and an action on open scenes, and we'll generate that method. We then just want to add the main toolbar element attribute. We'll just call this scene button, and I like mine to be on the right, but you can obviously set this to whatever you want. You can also move things around once it's all set up anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to put mine on the right. Back in Unity then, you probably won't see anything yet. You have to come over here to the dots menu and you then should see your options. If we click this on the right here, we now should have this little scenes button that will open our menu eventually. I would love for this to show the actual scene icon, and I'll share this down below, but this very, very helpful person on GitHub has actually decompiled and found all of the icons and their names and how they're referenced in the editor. So if you want to get access to any of these internal icons that Unity uses, you just have to call them by their name, which is very helpful. So if we go here and we search scene, you can see scene asset icon, and that's the dark one. So the other one is this one here, scene asset icon. On with that knowledge, then we can use texture 2D asset icon, and then we can use editor GUI utility dot icon content, and then use the scene asset icon. You can then grab the image as texture 2D, and then we just pass this icon into here. I think we have to do that, and then pass that in there, and then write a tooltip. Opens the scene selection tool. And there you go, we now have our scene icon in the corner there. Okay, so we're just gonna grab a reference to all of our scenes. So it's pretty straightforward. We'll just get to the asset database and find assets, and then search for our scene assets. This will give us our GUIDs, and then we'll also create a generic menu, which we will open, we'll show as context. In between here, we'll iterate over our GUID, and we'll get the path. Then we'll also load the scene asset, and then we'll make a menu item for our asset. So we'll add the asset.name, and then we'll make a new method that we'll load our scene with, and we'll pass in our scene's path. And then down here, we'll call editor scene manager dot open scene, and then just pass in the path. So this is really useful if you have a small selection of scenes and you just want quick and easy access to them. As you can see, I can very quickly just grab the ones I want and jump into each of the scenes for anything I want to edit. But if you have a multi-scene workflow, this obviously doesn't solve that problem. So we need to add support for situations whereby we need a bunch of scenes to be loaded all at once in order to be able to play test our game. In our editor folder, let's create a new scriptable object. So we'll head to scripting and scriptable object, and we'll call this editor scene collection. So this one is super straightforward. It's just a basic collection of all of the scenes that we want. So we'll just create an array of scene assets. Then we'll make a public method called open. And in here, we will just go through every scene asset, and we'll find the path of the asset. And then we'll call editor scene manager dot open scene, pass in our path. When we open our scene, we want to check if this is the first index that we're trying to load. And if it is, we'll load that as the scene, so it then unloads anything that's already open. And then everything after that, we then load additively, so they then stack on top. And that should allow us to load all of our scenes in one go and make sure that anything we're currently looking at also unloads. So for instance then, when I want my menu level and my UI scene to open at the same time, I can create a new object now for that. So we'll make a new set of assets. We'll go resources, and we'll create a folder called scene collections. And then we'll create a new scene collection, and we'll call this main menu scenes, and we'll add in our scene assets. I'll add my UI scene, and I'll add my menu level, and I'll just put them in the order that I want them in. And so in our scene button then, with our new scene collections, all we have to do is load them from our resources folder, and in a for each loop, just add those to our menu item and call the open function on our scene collections in order to open them. So we have our startup scene open, for instance, and we want to load into our main menu with the UI and our background scene. We can just click scenes and choose main menu scenes. It then replaces that scene and loads into both of our scenes. So you can see this is incredibly valuable if you have a bunch of scenes that you want to open all at once, and a quick and easy way to do that through scene collections. As a quick aside, I'd love to change the icon here, and using our icon method before, there's actually a scene set icon. So what we can do is hack Unity's little icon thing here. We just select a generic icon so it turns our script into that. And then in the meta file, set the file ID to the ID that we're looking for. Unity will then reload, and our icon will be set to that. And then if we re-import, our scene collections will then have our scene set icon, which is really nice. So as a final step then, as you can see, if you have quite a lot of scenes in your game, you're building a huge game, this is pretty useless. It will soon go out of control. You really can only have like 5 or 10 scenes available to you before this menu just becomes a mess. So it's probably better that we switch this to a searchable window instead. So instead of calling our open scenes generic menu, what we'll do instead is open a searchable menu and then just call search window.open and our new searchable menu class. And so then in here, I'm just going to build out our 3 main groups. So we'll start off with the header group, which is our scene assets. And then we'll have a group for our collections and we'll have a group for our individual scenes. And so that gives us our collections and our scenes group. And so then in between our groups, we can just add our editor collection by iterating through them and creating a new search entry for each collection, setting the level on the search tree entry to 2 as it's the next one along, and setting the user data to be our scene collection. Our collection then shows up there like so. And then we just can do the same thing for our scenes. So yeah, we'll just grab all the GUIDs for our scenes, we'll iterate over them, grab the path, grab the scene asset, and then add that as a new search tree entry into our tree after our scenes group. That then allows our collections to show up and our scenes to show up, and we can search through them to find everything we're looking for. So if I want my main menu scenes, I can just load them that way. And to load, it's really simple. Just when we select, we check if the user data is a collection and we open that. If the entry is an asset, then we just open the scene ourselves manually. And like that, we now have a very simple, but much easier to use way of finding scenes and loading them in our game. And as a final step then, we can just add the object content images and our little hacky image gathering into the group entries and the search tree entry itself. And that just allows us to see at a glance if we're opening a collection or a scene. So I can type main menu and I know that that's a group. And then I can look at the scenes and I know that they're individual scenes. And so yeah, it's a very easy and effective way now to load into our scenes. And as our project grows and we add more scenes, we have a much easier way to find them and get quicker access to what we're looking for. And that's about it for today's video. Hopefully you can see how a tool like this can speed up your workflow, especially if you're using a multi-scene setup and need to load lots of scenes quickly. Getting access to all of the scenes you need to open in just a couple of clicks can really help reduce day-to-day friction. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing, as you'll be notified when a new video goes live. Alternatively, if you'd like to see more videos from me first, then consider checking out one of the videos on screen now, such as this one where I go into more detail about creating searchable windows. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.